Hey, you're listening to Stop the Scroll, a social media marketing podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Schmidt. I'm a social media strategist and agency owner with over 15 years of marketing experiences helping businesses grow online. We'll be diving into what you need to know so that you can show up confidently online without the overwhelm. Get your notebook ready to jot down some amazing marketing gems, and let's dive into it. Welcome back, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Stop the Scroll. I am super excited about this topic, which I feel like is relevant and timely and something that a lot of people don't fully understand. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about Instagram SEO. Here's the thing. Oftentimes when we think about SEO, we think about it only in terms of our websites. However, so many people, especially over the past 4 to 5 years, have really started using social media as a search engine. I blame the Zoomers for that, Gen Z. It kind of started with TikTok, especially during the pandemic, but now we're seeing it more and more that SEO, or search engine optimization, for those of you not in the know, really is also impacting social media. So let's kind of talk about it. So according to Social Media Examiner, 54% of marketers, anyone marketing, say that SEO is one of their top priorities when it comes to their organic social media growth. So basically, platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and now even LinkedIn, Facebook, they all have these search functionalities that operate so similarly to Google. So people are using searches on Instagram or TikTok to find services or products or advice. So if you're not optimizing your social media content, you're probably missing out. So why does this matter so much? Why does this matter so much to us service providers, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs? Well, we know that our ideal clients are all searching for these specific solutions. So if you're not utilizing keywords that match that search intent, you're not going to be found. There was a study that apparently said that 68% of all online experiences begin with a search engine. And this takes me back to my agency days when this was 11 years ago. So you'll have to forgive me, 10 years ago. The zero moment of truth is basically that moment when someone knows that they need something. I'm going to start my research. And 88% of consumers research before they buy, consulting on average 10 to 11 sources. So they are going to need to see you. Most people need to see a brand 7 times before they make a decision to buy something. And granted, this is all kind of older information, but I think it's still relevant because people still research so much before they buy something. Like me, I'm a little bit of an impulse shopper. I'm not going to lie. I see a reel. I'm like, oh, that's really cute. I'm probably going to save it. Okay, I'm going to go to their profile. I'm going to look at their to know it album. I'm going to find it. I'm going to go to the store's website. I'm probably going to add it to my cart, but I'm not necessarily going to buy it. But guarantee the next morning, I'm probably going to see that blogger, influencer, content creator again. And I'm going to be like, ooh, that's really cute too. And I'm going to go back. Then I'm going to be like, oh yeah, remember that thing that I bought or that I wanted to buy? It's a thing. So the zero moment of truth is basically that first moment when someone realizes, I need this thing. I have this problem, when they start doing that research. So in an ideal world, you want to make sure that you're showing up for that research. And now versus, 2011, 2012, 2013, when the whole zero moment of truth stuff first came out from Google, what is a lot of that initial search is being done on social media platforms. So here's a real world example. If you are a business coach and someone types, business coach for female entrepreneurs into Instagram search bar, whatever it is that you want to be found for, test yourself out. See if you come up. Have someone else search for you and see, hey, I want to be found for X. Can you double check and see if I show up in a search? Now, you may not. But it's worth doing that kind of online research about yourself. And, I was at an SEO workshop a few weeks ago, and Google knows so much about our search intent. They know so much about what we are intending on buying. So, like, even if we're searching for ourselves, we're not necessarily going to show up on that first search term on Google. I am not confident, and someone can correct me if I'm wildly off base here. Send me an email that the level of user intent when it comes to searches is at the same level on social media platforms as it is on Google. Now, granted, they do have intent because they think that, yeah, I know that you are interacting with this content. So I think that you want to watch this. I mean, that's the whole AI algorithm that Instagram has, right? So we're going to push out content that we think that you're going to like. Some of it's going to be your followers. Probably most of it isn't. Our job as businesses is to be the content that gets pushed to our ideal audience. And part of that is making sure that we are optimized, making sure that your bio, your captions, your hashtags, yes, hashtags are so relevant. I don't care what anyone says, they are not dead. They're not dead. Make sure that they match with what your users are searching for. There's a whole slew of tools out there, Google Trends. Oh, there's another great website out there, like Ask the Public. Ask the Public. I couldn't think of it. I was like, wait, do. So Ask the Public is another great search engine tool to find keywords. There's Google Keyword Planner. Google Trends is great, especially I remember using Google Trends. This was in like the early days of Google Trends because it was like, how do we optimize for nonprofit? Do you use the little hyphen between non and profit? Or do you leave it out? Or is it just a space? And Google Trends, if there are multiple ways to spell kind of your business or your service that you offer, fun fact, check Google Trends because it'll tell you right down like geographically, like how people search for it. So do your keyword research and make sure that and not just, the keywords like your services, that kind of stuff, but like what else are they searching for when they ask that question? Main tip here, though, all of this being said, is we want to write for humans first and optimize for algorithms. So always write for humans. We're marketing to humans, we're marketing to people, but optimize for those algorithms. HubSpot says that, companies who blog and use SEO typically see a 55% increase in website visitors. And that concept also applies to social media. The more optimized your posts are, the more reach that you get. And, people ask me like, oh, should I use long captions? Should I use short captions? Like, well, I think it's always worth experimenting. Not every post needs to be, a 5,000 word essay in the caption. People aren't going to read that. Does it help optimize you? Possibly. Absolutely possibly. But there are obviously some common mistakes that you want to avoid, and there are some best practices. So let's talk about them. Common mistakes. And like I said, I've seen this for, the many years that I've been in the content marketing space, is overstuffing with keywords. Back in 2013, 2014, we used to literally make landing pages for an insurance agency that I worked for that was like business insurance Annapolis, business insurance Davidsonville, like all these little towns around us, and optimizing, it was kind of, they weren't all the same pages. They were a little tweaked. God, it would have been so much easier to build those if I had AI back then. What you do now, like, please reword this and optimize. But that's not best practice anymore. So it's kind of overstuffing your website with keywords, and Google doesn't like that. So same with social media. Like, it's not about jamming as many keywords into your content as possible. Like, be strategic about it. Be thoughtful. You're writing for people. I said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. I will hold up a sign on top of a building being like, hashtags are still relevant. They're still a thing. The biggest thing that they do is they kind of signal to the platform what your content is about. Yes, Instagram will say like, oh, people don't search using hashtags, or hashtags aren't really relevant, blah, blah, blah. They don't improve your reach. No, but it does give the algorithm some guidance about what your content is about. So don't skip out on those. And there was something that I saw a while ago, and sometimes I do this depending on the client. Other times we add all of the strategic hashtags, but mostly we use between like 15 and 25 hashtags. That's what we say. And they're a combination of service-based keywords, like generic. Some of them are branded, like maybe your service or maybe a service that you have. And the other ones are kind of local, especially because most of the clients that I work with are local clients, or they have events in certain spaces. We want to make sure that we're using those relevant hashtags to kind of indicate to the platform what this content is about. Here are the 3 key factors that you need to know about how SEO works specifically on Instagram. I'm not touching the TikTok algorithm with a 10-foot pole. And I'm sure Facebook's search ability isn't that much different from Instagram. So we're going to talk about Instagram. And I'm going to give you these 3 key factors and I think the biggest takeaway here. So the 3 key factors that you need to know about is 1, the biggest thing that impacts the Instagram's algorithm is really like the signals. So in addition to like the text that you type into search, so like when you're searching for an account or when you're searching for something else or hashtags or places, whatever, those are called signals. And those are what we as content creators, businesses, etc., need to use to help rank. So the important signals that you want to be mindful of are the text, like the text that you put into the search bar. Instagram always tries to match what users type with relevant keywords, accounts, hashtags, content, places. And you can see that in your app, how it's like, most relevant or accounts or places or hashtags. Like it has all those things. Instagram also knows a lot about our user activity. So if Instagram thinks that someone's going to be more interested in one post over another, it's going to prioritize that in the search results. So this determines if, based on your previous activity on the app, such as mostly like the accounts that you've engaged in or interacted with or the ones that you follow. So it's going to basically use those signals to serve up content. And then, when search results come up, especially like the explore page or in a search that a user might do, when there's a high volume and, you think about those generic search terms like business or hashtag marketing or hashtag social media, those kind of things, it can become a little bit of a popularity contest. And that's when the engagement that you have is really going to drive your ability to be served up to your ideal customer. So yes, engagement matters. So here's what you can do to kind of use these SEO tactics to kind of get more eyeballs on your content, because that's what we all ultimately want, right? Not only can you use hashtags, you can use just keywords, and you'll see some people in captions, like after the hashtags, like they might just like type like a few keywords, and that's them trying to be like keyword friendly to Instagram. But also like making sure that your captions are relevant, making sure that they're descriptive, using those keywords can really impact how you get served up to your audience. Making sure that your Instagram bio is optimized. Like, are there keywords in your Instagram profile name? So like not like the at whatever, for me it would be at Heidi Schmidt Creative. No, but in the name, like no one needs to know my name. Like I can put that, you can find that anywhere. Hey, it's in my profile, like my username. But instead, it should be like Maryland Social Media Management Agency, blah, 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 small business service provider, something like that. Because that's what I want to be found for, right? So thinking about your bio, thinking about how you're showing up on your bio, like make sure that you have keywords not only in your profile name, but also in the bio. We kind of talked about this before, but I use an outline. So like I'm kind of going mostly down my outline, but a little all over the place. So, right. But hashtags are used with the intent to categorize and discover new content. So do not skip out on hashtags. I don't care what anyone says. There are plenty of tools out there to help you find the hashtags that are relevant to your account. If you have questions about them, please let me know. Also, make sure that you're adding descriptive alt text to your posts. So alt text is important. And, I was actually at a social media summit last month, and it was all about, how do we make our content more accessible, especially to the, I want to say disabled community, but like people who have challenges seeing content, whether it's seeing, reading, et cetera, et cetera. But, one of the things for accessibility, and this is true on websites and this is true in social media, is making sure that you have that alt text on your images. And Instagram lets you do that. So you can write an alternative text for a richer description of your photo. And while, the intent of that feature was really for accessibility, it's also a little bit for SEO. And we know that on website SEO also, like it's always been for accessibility, but it can help your photos get found. So don't keyword stuff, obviously. For the love of God, don't keyword stuff. Nobody likes that. Instagram can also automatically generate your alt text for you, but you can add them manually too if you want to optimize them better. So a major thing with, the visibility and SEO practice, and this is kind of both across the board for your website and with Instagram, is making sure that you're consistent. It teaches the platform who you are, what you offer, which means those relevant users who are searching for you, they're more likely to get served up your content. If you're not consistent, or if it's not clear to the algorithm who you are and what you offer, you're not going to get in front of your audience. So if your reach is in the gutter and you're like, why is nothing working? Why is no one engaging with this? I would look at your best performing content and your worst performing content. And I would also look at it from the realm of, is this really speaking to my audience, or is this just me running my mouth online? And most of the time, I think that I do. I kind of have a balance of both. But the running my mouth online, it really happens in my Instagram stories, which is where it should live. That kind of gives you the behind the scenes stuff. That's just my opinion. But yeah, you are not your ideal audience. I mean, you might be. Some businesses are. I know plenty of businessy friends and clients, past and current, who are their ideal audience. And so they understand deeply what their audience wants and needs. So make sure that when you're posting, it's not just posting. One, don't post to post. Two, make sure if your ideal audience were to search for you, what would they be searching for? And that's how you really, really optimize your content, is knowing your audience, knowing the value that you provide, and understanding what your audience needs that you provide them. And that, every time I do a social media strategy for anyone, that is something that we dive into, because if you don't get that right, your content's like, you might as well not even show up. Like, you have to understand your differentiators. You have to understand your value. You have to understand your audience, what they need, what they want, and how you help them. What do they want from you? What are they searching for when you are served up to them? And again, you can do so much keyword research to figure that out. So don't hesitate to do the deep work, or hire someone to do it. I've got a great website developer friend, Chrissy Ray, here local to Anne Arundel County, and she has an amazing keyword program, and I will link to it in the show notes. It's like a few $100s, and she does all of the keyword research for your business. And if you have a blog or a podcast, she'll come up with topics, and she's just brilliant. So 100% highly recommend. And those keywords are also really, really good to use for social media. So that is all we're going to talk about today. If you need an audit of your account, if you're like, hey, why is nothing working? Let's talk. Schedule a strategy session. I do audits. If you're interested, send me an email. Get in touch through my website, and I'll send you the link for that. It's like $100, and I just go through your account and say, hey, this is what you should be doing. This is what you're doing well. This is what you could be doing better. And here's my recommendations. So yeah, for now, and thank you for listening. If you love this episode, if you love all the content here and you find it super valuable and helpful, leave me a review. I love reviews. And until next time, go forth, create amazing and now well-optimized content that stops the scroll.